in the stillness of the night, when the world grows quiet and your heartbeat softens into the gentle rhythm of rest, stories from long ago begin to rise like mist over forgotten hills. Tonight, allow your mind to drift into the cold and lonely mountains of 19th century West Virginia, to a place where winter wind curls round the cabins and where the silence of the valleys holds secrets darker than the forest shadows. This is the story of a woman who refused to stay dead, a spirit whose whispered testimony changed the course of law, and who, more than a century later, still walks the thin boundary between truth and legend. This is the haunting tale of the Greenbrier Ghost. The year was 1897. The small, tucked-away community of Greenbrier County lived a quiet life among the Appalachian ridges. People rose with the daylight, tended to their farms, and returned home as the sun sank behind the pines. It was a land where stories traveled by word of mouth, where superstition lived comfortably beside faith, and where the dead were often believed to linger just a little longer, and that winter, as snow collected along the wooden fences and smoke curled from the chimneys, a young bride named Elverzona Heister was about to become the center of a mystery that would echo far beyond the hills she called home. Zona, as she was known, was described by those who loved her as gentle, soft-spoken, and bright-eyed. Her laughter carried easily, and she moved through life with a kind warmth that made others feel safe. When she married a handsome newcomer named Erasmus Troutshoe, the townspeople wished her well, though whispers lingered about the man's past, the way outsiders sometimes do not fully belong, the way shadows cling to certain people regardless of how brightly they smile. On a cold January afternoon, an 11-year-old boy delivered a routine task for Troutshoe. Trout had asked him to stop by the couple's small cottage and see if Zona needed anything. The boy approached the house carefully, boots crunching over snow, breath curling in the frigid air. When he knocked, no answer came. The door creaked open just enough to reveal the stillness inside. And there, lying at the bottom of the staircase, was the body of Elverzona Heister. Her legs were together, one arm at her side, the other bent across her chest. Her head was turned sharply, unnaturally, almost as if someone had twisted it. The boy ran, trembling, to fetch Trout, and soon the husband arrived, wailing, collapsing over his wife's body. The doctor, summoned from miles away, found the scene strange. But Trout never allowed anyone near Zona's head or neck. He cradled her, dressed her himself, placed a stiff, high-colored dress around her neck, and tied a scarf of bright and natural color under her chin, insisting it had been her favorite. The doctor, confused and pressed by Trout's outbursts of sorrow, listed the cause of death as everlasting faint. Later, and sure, he added childbirth. Zona had not been pregnant. The town grieved quietly, but one woman did not accept the story. Mary Jane Heister, Zona's mother, believed from the moment she heard the news that her daughter had been murdered. Something inside her, an instinct older than reason, older than fear, whispered that the truth had been buried with the girl she loved. Night after night, Mary Jane prayed. She asked for guidance, for understanding, and eventually something answered. The first visitation came softly. Mary Jane, lying alone in her darkened room, felt a chill brush across her skin, though the fire still burned warmly. The shadows shifted, gathered, and then, at the foot of the bed, a figure formed. Zona stood there, pale but unmistakable, her eyes full of sorrow and urgency. She did not speak, but her presence lingered long enough for Mary Jane to know this was no dream. The second night, Zona returned, and this time she spoke. Her voice, Mary Jane would later say, was calm and distant, like someone speaking across a great expanse. Zona told her mother that Trout was not the grieving husband he pretended to be. She explained that he had a temper, a cruel one, and that on the night of her death, a violent argument had erupted. Zona had not prepared a meal the way Trout demanded, and in a fit of rage, he attacked her. He broke her neck. Slowly, deliberately, Zona turned her head in the exact and natural angle the doctor had seen, but failed to question. Vertebrae snapped with a soft, sickening sound. Mary Jane gasped awake. But the dream did not end there. On the third night, Zona appeared again. She described the attack in painful detail, the room turning cold as she spoke. And on the fourth and final night, she came not as a fading shadow, but as something clearer, more tangible. She walked Mary Jane to the very spot where her life had been taken. She showed her how Trout had twisted her neck and how he had arranged her body to make the death appear accidental. When Zona finally faded, the room warmed again, but Mary Jane knew she would never be the same. Most people would have dismissed these visions as grief. But Mary Jane Heister was not most people. She marched straight to the prosecutor and demanded her daughter's body be exhumed. At first, he refused. Ghost stories were not evidence, but Mary Jane's unwavering certainty began to trouble him, and townspeople had already whispered about Trout's strange behavior. Eventually, he agreed. When Zona's body was examined, the truth came out. Her neck had been broken. The bones were fractured in 3 places. The narrative of accidental death fell apart instantly. Trout Shoe was arrested. At his trial, something unprecedented happened. Mary Jane Heister was called to the stand. The defense sought to discredit her by forcing her to recount the ghostly visions, hoping the jury would see her as unstable. But she spoke clearly, calmly, and with a conviction that sent chills through the courtroom. She described Zona's appearances, the colder, the way her daughter turned her head to reveal the fatal injury. Every detail aligned with what the medical examiner discovered, even though Mary Jane could not have known any of it beforehand. The jury was unsettled. Even those who did not believe in ghosts began to wonder how else Mary Jane could know such precise information. Whether they decided based on the spiritual testimony or on Trout's suspicious behavior hardly mattered. The verdict was unanimous. Trout Shoe was found guilty of murder. He spent the rest of his life in prison, and Zona's spirit, as the legend says, never appeared again. To this day, the Greenbrier Ghost remains the only case in American history where testimony from a spirit, or at least the belief in one, contributed to a conviction. In the quiet valleys where the wind moves through the tall, dark trees, people still talk about Zona's visitations. Some say she sought justice. Some say she sought peace. And some believe she simply wanted to be heard. And now, as you let your breath soften and your thoughts drift into the gentle darkness of sleep, allow the echoes of this old Appalachian tale to fade like mist around you. Imagine the distant call of an owl, the creak of winter branches, the soft whisper of a woman stepping from the veil of death to reveal the truth. Let it settle into the quiet corners of your mind, not as fear, but as a reminder that every story, even one born of tragedy, carries a voice that longs to be understood. Tonight, as the shadows lengthen and your eyelids grow heavy, may the tale of the Greenbrier Ghost guide you into a deeper rest. The danger has passed. The truth is spoken, and the spirit has found her peace. Sleep now, softly, gently, as the mountains hold their silence. Once more,